Ryan, where do we find you? Which one of your magical, mystical songwriting strongholds are you in?
I'm just in LA.
Oh,
Okay.
West Hollywood.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So it's 2022. Everybody's doing the Zoom meetings. Are you wearing pants?
I am. I'm wearing sweat shorts.
Okay. Okay. I can't guarantee Marcus is wearing pants. So
Yeah.
just a heads up.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
comfortable.
nobody's watching. So, I mean, it is very comfortable.
I feel like I've known you since day one because we started this journey together when I was in Seattle. I think it was 06. And
Probably
booked-
07. 07 would have been.
07. Okay. My dates are going to be off because everything's a blur. But so I booked Timbaland for a show and he's like, only if I can bring my band. And I was like, fine.
Sounds right.
And you guys killed it.
Yeah.
In 07.
07.
I remember standing there like completely mouth agape, and then fast forward to, again, 2010, 2011, and I was involved in a show in Golden Gate Park in San Francisco.
Remember
people sitting in the trees, like 25,000 people, free show.
Yeah, I remember that.
And again, saw the power of the band.
Yeah.
So
that was a fun gig.
And now here we are. I Ain't Worried on the radio. And last night I was getting ready for the interview and cooking dinner at the same time. And out of nowhere, I just started.
Yeah.
And my wife was like, okay, you're not at work anymore. How do you do that?
Yeah.
Like, how do you write? How do you start writing songs? Because I'm fascinated.
I mean, I think it's funny. I just came from the dentist like 20 minutes ago. And as I'm finishing the x-rays, getting ready I'm about to like lose my mind because I hate being at the dentist. I got their rubber hands all up in your face and all that. And it went from Good Life into I Ain't Worried, which was really odd.
Yeah.
I think the station teased Good Life for some reason. And then it went right into I Ain't Worried as I'm walking out of the dentist office. And it occurred to me that both songs have whistles, which is kind of funny. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know how you write songs. I mean, it's a really weird alchemy. I think that you have to come by it honestly, just like kind of anything else. You have to be obsessed. If you're going to be great at something, you have to be obsessed kind of from an early age.
Okay.
And consume just really inordinate, disproportionate amounts of whatever it is you're obsessed with. So if it's food, you're cooking, you're watching food shows, you're working in a restaurant, and your goal is to be a chef, right? And sports, obviously. But for me, there's a lot of things that I loved, but music was the one that felt the most tangible and and it felt less dismissive than acting. Acting was my first love before music. And I had a scholarship for acting. And then as I was contemplating it, I thought, no matter how good I get at acting, no matter how good the role is I land, at some point, 20 years from now, someone will replace me in the same role and you get kind of pushed to the side, right?
Sure.
And then also there's always going to be somebody better looking. There's always going to be somebody that's just more, whatever. And so that was kind of my decision process going into music. And I thought that I'd be decent at it because I listened to so much radio growing up. I didn't have a cool older brother or sister playing me the Kinks and the Clash. And you hear these artists who come up on, especially British artists, like my dad always played Bob Dylan and the Kinks and blah, blah, blah. It's like, bullshit. No, I grew up listening to K-Hits in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Z104.5 in Oklahoma City, and Rick D's weekly top 40s. And that was my cultural curator, so I'm a child of top 40, and I'd make mixtapes off the radio stations. And when you listen to, and my dad was obsessed with hit songs. I mean, we were that family. We were like, don't give me track 7 from the indie cut. I want like what the biggest hits. And that's all we listened to for like 15 years. So by the time I sat down at a piano or a guitar and started messing around with melodies or anything, the very first song I wrote, at least melodically, sounded like what was on the radio, because I had just taken in like a fire hose of music for 15 years.
Sure.
And that's really what it is. That was my secret was that. I wish I was, I don't have a cooler story other than I listened to a stupid amount of top 40. And by the time I started writing, my songs sounded like they were instantly catchy because that's all I had taken in.
Well, let me scratch that off. I'm going to scratch that off my list. Not a savant, not a virtuoso, just radio nerd. Okay, I feel closer to you.
Yeah.
I think we both wanted to be actors, and that's why we're DJs.
Yeah, I mean, DJs, it's kind of, you kind of get to play that role a little bit.
Yeah.
So I watched that interview with Tom Cruise on your Instagram, and it was such a great interview. Did you really write "I Ain't Worried" in one night?
I wrote it in the morning. I wrote it like probably at 10 a.m. between the hours of 10 and 11 a.m. I wrote it really, really fast. We met with Tom, watched the scene from Top Gun. They were at a hard deadline because at this time in the pandemic, there was still the false impression that it could be over by October. Everybody thought, this is not going to last. Come on, global pandemic, it's been 100 years. And so Tom's deadline was quickly approaching because it was going to be a Christmas release. Mm-hmm. And so I had a very limited window of time. We had the meeting on like a Thursday or Wednesday. I got up the next morning, got with my bass player, and he's like, hey, I'm hearing this music. He's like, I've got a bass line. He writes, he thinks about bass lines. He's a bass player. So he had a bass line that I loved. And I told him, I said, hey, I think the beat, I sent him a voice memo. I think the beat should be a break beat, like that kind of thing. And then he sent it to me. He was in Seattle. I was in LA. He texted it to me. I put on a pair of headphones, turned on the microphone. And the very first thing out of my mouth was the whistle. And then, and then the verse, and then the chorus was it was a 45-minute. I mean, I wish I had a better story, but
That's a great story. That's a great
story. So fast because I didn't feel because it was the pandemic and I wasn't in a studio with a bunch of people. It's not like I had Tom Cruise sitting there looking over my shoulder. I was by myself. And so I had no pressure. Right. And what am I saying? No pressure. The pressure was, don't disappoint Tom Cruise. Obviously that's its own thing. Like,
right.
But I just kind of felt like, as long as I do what works for the scene, the irony is that I was 100% not trying to write a hit song. I can tell you that much. There was no ounce of my body or mind that thought, well, this song's a hit. Like, I just thought it's really catchy. Like, it's catchy and it sounds like One Republic doing some kind of new thing. And it was that simple. It was just kind of like, and it's hilarious to me because if you had told me to pick from 5 songs that we currently have on our hard drives, like what's going to be the one, that's not the one I would have picked, but this is a weird time. And I think right. You all are in radio. You can say more than it. You hear everything. The things that that sound like hit songs, right? Like back in the day, even 3-4 years ago, you could play a record, a new Weekend record or a new whatever. And you just knew. Mm-hmm. And now like we're in the upside down where you've got songs that absolutely don't sound like hits traditionally to my ears, to like top 40 ears, like Steve Lacy, Bad Habit, a song like that. It's like, that sounds like an indie record from like 1998.
Right.
And it's incredible. The song's incredible, but I'm actually kind of excited about what's happening right now with all this alternative leaning music, like the whole Harry Styles thing. That's like an alternative album. Like, mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's not, it's not like, it's not near as pop as Watermelon Sugar, but we're just in that time now where different things other than the song in themselves are what are influencing the big records that are turning into hits. And it's a really interesting time.
I'm glad to see these songs taking off because I feel like we really need really good pop music right now, the way that the world is. There's nothing that brings everybody back around to baseline like pop music does, in my opinion.
100%. So, it's universal. And it's also, a hit song that happens, a global hit song is one of the only times in your life that when you think about how big the world is, it's interesting to think that at any given point, there's 8 billion people, probably 1 billion of them or 500 million people are at the same time listening to the same song. Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it gets exponentially bigger when your song hits TikTok like yours did.
Oh,
I mean, it's got to be fun watching those videos, right? Because everybody having a good time to your song.
Crazy. Kevin Hart posted a video with his 1 billion followers the other day, and he's using to promote his comedy tour. Then 2 days later, Tom Brady posted it, and I was just like, this is amazing. Like, it's like happening, and it's the whistle slowed down. And it's like, that's the weird thing about TikTok is the versions of songs that are going viral on TikTok. TikTok is fundamentally turned into what was like NBC in 1947.
Right.
All of America had one channel and you're all watching the same thing at the same time. TikTok has now become that. And so like, what's interesting though, is like the versions of songs that are breaking more often than not aren't the recorded studio version.
Right.
So you have like David Romantic Homicide that's exploded now, right? On TikTok, but it's the sped up, pitched up version.
Yep.
You have like with I Ain't Worried, the most viral part of I Ain't Worried on TikTok, like 100 million usages is the whistle intro slowed down. So it's just, it's the Wild West. This is the most bizarre time in the history of me being in music in 20 years. This is the wildest time I've ever seen.
Yeah. I know we got to wrap, but I got to ask you, and if you do any research on Ryan here, you've been involved in a lot of hit projects, Taylor Swift, Beyonce, Ellie Goulding, Gavin DeGraw, responsible for a lot of music. On top of that, you have your hand sanitizer, Emu hand sanitizer, feels good, smells good, does good.
Yeah.
And also the world's only gluten-free certified super tasty hemp beverage.
Yeah.
When do you sleep and how much?
I sleep 8 hours a night. Believe it or not.
Do you really?
Oh yeah, for sure. I sleep 8 hours a night. I just, I'm decent at delegating things.
Okay.
And I partner. Anytime you see me doing something, it's actually there's like 15 people surrounding it, right? And it's like I'm a part of it. I mean, the person who most, in my mind, should be the most sleep deprived in the world, speaking of radio, is Ryan Seacrest. And every time I'm with Ryan and I are friends, and every time I'm with him or talk to him, or sometimes I'll take over for him for the top 40 countdown. And I'm always just like, dude, I know your schedule. Like, I know what you're doing. Like, I don't know how, like you pull it off. Like, to truly be bi-coastal 50 weeks out of the year, it's crazy to me. And Carson Daly, same deal. You're doing The Voice, and then you're flying and doing the Today Show the next. Like, I don't even know how you in two places at once. So yeah, there are definitely people that outwork me, but I just surround myself by the best people I can in any field that I'm pursuing, whether it's TV, film, or beverages. I try to partner with. I try to seek out who I think is a Hall of Famer, and I try to partner with them. And that's more or less how I spin all these plates.
That's awesome. Last question. When are you coming to the Bay on tour? I know you really don't have to leave the house. If I was you, I'd just collect the checks for the songwriting and call it good.
Well, you're traveling. You're going to, aren't you going to be in Italy for Halloween?
Yeah, I'm in Italy for Halloween. We're in right outside of Venice, I think. We're the Bay Area. We just played there. It was San Jose, but we played probably a month ago, I think.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Sorry.
Yeah, we gave away tickets to that.
That's right.
We're coming back for one of the Jingle Ball things. The Bay Area, we're in the Bay Area probably more than any city in the country, because between concerts, radio things, festivals, and private gigs, it's just an easy hop for us. And then, I'm home for a month, and then we go back to Europe. We fly to Switzerland, I think in about a month from today. And then we have like 5 or 6 dates in Europe, through Italy, Vienna. Then we go to the Middle East for about 10 days. And we do a miniature, like 3 or 4 city tour in the Middle East, Abu Dhabi and like Israel and Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And then we go to South Africa. And then I go from there to the Caribbean because I need a vacation.
There you go.
Straight to the Caribbean for Thanksgiving. I'm just like, peace out.
All right, dude. Well, thank you for your time, Ryan. We appreciate it. Thanks for putting us all back in a better mood here in 2022 with all the jams.
Thanks for playing us. I appreciate it. Thank you.
For sure. Take care of yourself, man.
Thank you.
Bye.